What's good, YouTube? In this video, we'll be going over white balance when shooting photos on your smartphone. We'll be discussing what white balance is and how you can measure white balance generally using color temperature. We'll then be going into common lighting situations and light sources where you'll see differences in white balance. And finally, we'll be going over tips and tricks that you can do on most modern smartphones that you can use to adjust white balance and make sure you get accurate white balance and color temperature and the kind of shot that you're looking for. If you like this kind of content, leave a message down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching. In photography and cell phone photography, white balance is a really important part that has a really large impact on the final look of your shot and your image. It's used to make sure that the correct color temperature is used relative to the light source, and that ensures that the whites in your image and shots actually appear white, regardless of what the lighting conditions or color temperature of your scene or lighting source is. If white balance isn't calibrated or set correctly in your camera or scene, the colors of an image can appear to be very different than what shot you're going for, and the whites can either appear to be overly yellow, blue, or orange, or just generally not representative of the scene or the style of shot that you're looking for. This image, if the white balance isn't calibrated properly, can be unnatural and unappealing. So in this video, we'll be going into white balance and how you can do several things when taking a photo with your phone to make sure that white balance is accurate and either natural looking or matching the type of style that you're looking for in your shot. So it's hard to talk about white balance without first talking about color temperature and its role in white balance. White balance is based on the measurement of color temperature, which is measured in kelvins. Color temperature is a characteristic of light sources, and this measures how warm or how cool they are, with the lower color temperature being associated with warmer yellow and orange light, such as candlelight or tungsten light, and higher color temperatures associated with cooler light sources like daylight or electronic flash, which has a more bluish hue. The color temperature of a light source affects the colors of the image, making them either appear more yellow, blue than other colors. So if you're looking for a warmer shot, you'll overall have a lower color temperature in kelvins. And if you have a cooler shot, you'll have a higher color temperature in kelvins. Depending on the light source, the scene, and also what kind of shot you're looking for, the overall color temperature of your photography will be important. As a general example, let's say you have a room and it's lit by a tungsten light. The image and all of the objects in the room are going to appear yellow or orange, due to the color temperature of this tungsten light source. Similarly, if you have a photo outdoors on an overcast day where there is some filtering of the light from the sun, the image will appear more cooler or green due to the natural color temperature of outdoor light. Where white balance comes in is how you calibrate your phone or camera, and you can try to neutralize these color casts to make sure that the image isn't overly cool or isn't overly warm, and that whites at the center of all of this appear to be white, resulting in a more accurate and natural looking image and shot. Speaking, if you have a light source or a main source of light in your shot that is overly warm, you want to try to compensate the white balance if you're looking for that natural look to the more cool range. And on the flip side of that coin, if you have a very cool light source, like for example flash, there would be compensation to try to get the white balance to the more warmer end of the spectrum with lower kelvins. Now that we know generally what white balance and color temperature is, we'll be diving a little bit more into specifics on what kind of white balance and what kind of color temperature results in what kind of scene. Whether you're shooting portraits, products, landscapes, or just people, the type of light and the white balance plays a significant role in dictating the mood and atmosphere of your shots. And it's key to know the difference between what warm light and cool light produces in terms of the feeling of your shot, and how you can use these to maximize your photographic output. Warm light in general emits light that appears yellow, red, or has lower color temperatures, somewhere between the range of 2700 and 3000 Kelvin. Natural light sources of warm light include incandescent bulbs and candles. These type of lights usually create cozy and inviting atmospheres, and a lot of the common applications are some indoor residential settings where it's a comfortable shot and a warm, welcoming background. In photography, warm light is often used to create a soft and romantic look. So if you're shooting couples, or if you're shooting something with a romantic or intimate feel, then you might want to maximize the amount of warm light that you have. This is true, of course, on your cell phone if you're shooting selfies, or if you're shooting portraits of your family or friends. Warm light is great for creating that comfortable and intimate atmosphere. It's particularly warm and inviting when you're able to diffuse warm light and eliminate these harsh shadows. This way you have that sense of intimacy and your subjects look more relaxed and natural. If you're shooting portraits on your smartphone, warm light does add that touch of warmth and softness to skin tone, making it an excellent choice if you want to soften up and smoothen out some skin tones in scenes where you have people. On the flip side, cool light emits light that appears more blue and white, and it can be measured in a color temperature anything above 5000 kelvins. This type of light is often used in industrial and commercial settings, or where a brighter, more energetic shot is desired. Cool light can also mimic daylight, making it an excellent choice for product photography or shooting in a photography studio. With cooler light, you get a bright, crisp look that creates a sense of energy with a modern feel. If you're shooting things like products, cool light can really help bring out the details in colors of the smaller areas of your product, and this can make your images look more crisp and vibrant. Cool light can also create a sense of drama and moodiness in your photos if you're shooting people, so this is excellent if you're shooting large groups of people, or people arranged in some kind of shot in a landscape or architectural scenes. Overall, when you're choosing the light source for your photography, it's really important to consider these two spectrums of light, warm light and cool light, as it will have a drastic look on how you want to select and compose your scene. So now that we know the difference between warm and cool light and how they're related to white balance, we'll be going over how we can adjust the settings in our smartphone to maximize this knowledge. The first thing that you want to make sure that you're familiar with is automatic versus manual white balance. In most modern smartphones, you have automatic white balance set by default when your phone is shipped out of the box. This means if you open up your phone and open up the camera setting, your phone will use software to try to calibrate the white balance depending on what color temperature it's reading through its lens and its sensors. For beginners and for people that aren't looking to take really in-depth photos with their smartphones, the automatic white balance mode will suffice on your smartphone. Camera sensors, camera arrays, and smartphone technology and speed and processing has gotten so fast and so good that smartphone cameras can really calibrate on the fly a lot of the common situations and lighting scenarios that you'll be taking with shots on your phone. If you're just taking a normal selfie in your room or even outside, modern photography, no matter what kind of brand second-hand phone you have, if it's relatively new, will take a relatively good shot with pretty good white balance. The sensors analyze the lighting conditions and adjust the white balance automatically, which can help produce images with relatively accurate colors in well-lit environments. Automatic white balance is a great, convenient way and easy to use feature for people that just want to start out taking photos with their smartphones. It takes care of the technical aspect of color temperature and white balance, and within milliseconds you can get pretty good results, particularly on modern smartphones. This wasn't always the case, as only a few generations of phones ago, white balance was something that you really couldn't rely on in the automatic setting. Photos would appear to be too warm or too cold, and the colors of your photo, whether it be skin tone or the color of images, would be off, particularly if you have some kind of strong light source. Though over the last few generations of phones, particularly the last 2 or 3 generations of phones, where we're seeing extremely sophisticated camera clusters, sensors, and software built into not only flagship phones, but lower tier model phones as well, the automatic mode for selecting white balance has improved dramatically. This has improved in both the static context and also a fluid context, as you can now move between very different lighting conditions, all while having your camera open up on your phone, and the smartphone will adjust the white balance on the fly. It's quite amazing, actually, just how fast the modern technology in the phones will work to adjust light balance on the fly. These sensors on these phones can detect if you're in a completely daylight, blown out outdoor setting, and will try to adjust the light balance while adjusting the exposure of your shot on the fly as well when you're in full auto mode on your smartphone. However, automatic white balance isn't always perfect, and it can sometimes produce images with incorrect white balance. This is particularly true if you're using artificial light sources, as images can either appear to be too warm or too cool if your artificial light source is too strong. In these cases, you may want to opt for a manual white balance, and this will give you control over the color temperature of your images. Manual white balance can also be very useful if you just want to add a little bit of extra punch or personalization to your shots and you want to take your smartphone photography to the next level. Sure, automatic white balance 8 times out of 10 will produce a color accurate shot on modern smartphones. But if you want to try to stylize your image in one direction or the other, you're not given many options pre-post processing on a smartphone that's shooting fully automatic to do so. You're mostly left with pretty generic shots based on the color science of whatever smartphone manufacturer you're using at the time. So if you want to add a little bit of extra personalization, or if you're going for a very specific kind of look on your photo using your smartphone, you want to make sure that automatic white balance is turned off, particularly if you're shooting in a customized light environment with artificial light that you've chosen specifically for your shot. The white balance that you can adjust manually in your smartphone will have an effect on the entire composure and should be thought about while you're trying to compose your shot. And the great thing about manual white balance on your smartphones is that you can see all of it in real time. So if you're setting up your lighting and you want to make sure the white balance is correct and you're moving the lighting to different areas of your shot, you can have your smartphone on the whole time, and you can adjust the lighting sources and the location of the lighting sources in your shot, but you can also manually adjust the white balance on the fly as well to make sure that you're getting the kind of look that you're looking for. Most modern smartphones, including most modern flagships with sophisticated camera arrays, will have some kind of Pro Photography mode or some kind of manual mode that allows you to shuffle through the options and select what is called manual white balance. You might have to find the slider, or you might have to find the specific mode, but it's in there and it allows you to adjust the color temperature of your shot. And with modern smartphones, you can actually see the white balance change on your screen through the viewfinder. Manual white balance gives the photographer, or you controlling the smartphone, complete control over the color temperature of your shot, and allows you to set white balance manually. This is extremely useful, is particularly either when you have artificial lighting that's too strong, or in natural lighting conditions where you might not have control over the light source, the strength of the light source, or the temperature of the light source. Let's say you're shooting indoors in a new spot and you have very strong incandescent lighting that you really have no control over, that's on a really high ceiling. In this case, if you cannot control the light source, there might be some issues with the white balance of your shots on your smartphone. Here, what you want to do is disable automatic white balance and go into the manual shooting mode, where you can now adjust the white balance to make sure that your images come out correctly. Manual white balance adjustments, which we'll get into a little bit later, give you a lot greater control over the final look of your image and is essential in making sure you, one, capture the accurate color, particularly when you have lighting conditions that might be challenging, and two, it's essential in making sure you get the type of shot that you want out of your smartphone. There's also several preset options available in smartphones, so you don't actually have to go fully manual. Here you can adjust things like a daylight mode or a cloudy mode or a tungsten mode, where there's general presets for your smartphone to adjust the white balance based on these kind of lighting situations. These are designed to correct for common lighting conditions which a lot of people might encounter, where the light source might be a little bit too strong in one direction, such as on a cloudy day. These offer a good starting point for people taking photos with smartphones to make manual adjustments, whereas they wouldn't normally have exposure to white balance if they were shooting fully automatic. Outside of automatic mode and outside of these category modes that you have on your smartphone, there's a few other tips that you can try to do when you're taking shots on your phone to make sure that you get the correct white balance. The first tip is the most old school photography of having a gray or white card as a reference. Here you'll have a true white card as opposed to something that you think is white to use as a reference, so you can calibrate the white balance in manual mode on your camera. By photographing this card using your smartphone, you can ensure that the white balance is set accurately, regardless of the lighting conditions or what would appear to be other white-like objects in your shot. The next tip is to actually practice shooting with your smartphone in various light sources. Go indoors, go outdoors, use candles, use different types of light sources, and play around. This will help you understand the differences between warm and cool light and how they relay both on your smartphone display and your final shot. This will allow you to make better decisions and pre-position yourself when taking shots on your phone. One good exercise that you can do right now is to try to examine the current lighting situation of whatever room you're in. Is the light source or the primary light source of the room that you're in warm or cool? Is this the primary light source, and are all light sources the same color temperature? Is there a mix of light sources where maybe one cooler light source will try to cancel out the other warm light source? These are all exercises that you can do in a variety of lighting conditions, and you can also do on your smartphone. So if you take out your smartphone right now, you might want to compare how warm or cool the image on the camera app appears on the phone display relative to what your eye sees. This will give you a sense of the spectrum of white balance and color temperature and how it plays out on the smartphone that you have. So there you have it, everyone. White balance is a really important part of taking photos on your phone. It has a really large impact on the final look, feeling, and style of your image. And hopefully, by understanding both white balance, color temperature, and how it's measured, and how it plays out in different lighting conditions, and how you can adjust the settings on your phone to hopefully calibrate light balance for the most optimal shot that you're looking for. So what do you think? Do modern smartphones with their automatic white balance do justice to the spectrum of light in a variety of lighting conditions, or is manual the way to go? Leave a message down below, and if you like this kind of content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and thanks for watching.